What's up, everyone? Irrigation Farmer here today. And today it's kind of a slower day. It's kind of a slow few days. This time of the year we got hay, but we're just cutting, and then the mornings I'm raking hay, but kind of during out throughout the day it's not terrible. So maintenance on the equipment, checking out things, cutting hay, just little things here and there. Today I've got to run to town and get some parts, and then we're going to do some swathing. And then I'm going to try to show you guys a little bit of the cover crops. Alright, so running to town real quick to grab some parts for the tractor. Got Mini-Me with me, so head to John Deere and be back. Time to get the filter and maybe buy a tractor. Just kidding, I can't afford one. Would be nice. Hopefully my next two stops are right next to each other. Pay a bill and then pick up some gloves. Made it back to the farm with the part. All it was filter I needed. Talked to the parts people about kind of future things because this had to get on order. Come to find out, if you need filters for tractors, they could be a week out, 2 weeks out, who knows. Same with basically all kinds of parts. So that kind of sucks because we're coming up to harvest and you never know what might break down. And when you need to get going, you need to get going. So might be a fun harvest if something breaks this year because might be using a lot of duct tape and super glue. Hopefully nothing breaks down. Fingers crossed, because last year was a pain. Anyways, I'm going to go service the tractor here. So I've got to service this 7230R, get it ready for harvest. So I've got to play a little bit of shuffle because I've got tractors in the way. So move those around and then go get that serviced. That was dusty. Ugh. Climbing this guy. Alright, got the oil dropped. Or, well, emptied out here. So I'm just gonna put the plug back in. And then oil filters on that side, and hydraulic is somewhere back there. So we'll get those replaced and then clean it out and be good to go. All the filters are all done and changed. Everything's good to go, so taking it back to the barn. Then we'll go swath a little bit, and then we'll go check out the cover crops and see how they look. Finishing up the field here. Sad thing this year is we're seeing a lot of this where it's just dry spots. You don't get much moisture, not a lot of irrigation, that kind of happens, but this isn't a bad cutting of hay here. This field looks a lot better than the majority of our fields do. Well, yeah, pretty much majority. But there's dry spots everywhere. Corn, alfalfa, feed. When it's 100 degrees and you haven't rained for a whole month and you're running every other week on irrigation, if that, and even with that you're not able to irrigate every field, yeah, you're gonna have this kind of stuff. These short rows are terrible, and if you notice all these things flying around, that's butterflies. We call it caterpillar, alfalfa caterpillars, I think that's what we call them. I don't know exactly the correct terminology. They will do a lot of damage to the alfalfa if not cut in time or sprayed. So we're actually cutting some fields early, and if there's some fields that are still growing, we'll actually wait a little bit, spray it, and then cut later. I really don't want to get out the swather. It's nice and cool in here. AC works really good, which brand new equipment should, but gonna jump out, go drive to the corn. It's hot, not too excited to do it, but I kind of want to go look at the ears and stuff, see how they're maturing, and then show you guys how the cover crops look and kind of talk about them a little bit. So, jump in the truck, dive heat, run over there, go take a look, and see the progress. See you guys in a bit.
All right, so you notice I got a different shirt on. Had a bit of emergency last night, so I had to run somewhere else. Couldn't go check the corn out. So next day here, I'm here at the corn. We're gonna dive in here. It's getting really dry. It is hot again today. It's like 100 degrees. Looks like I've got some raccoon damage here, which is typical. But you can kind of see the corn is really starting to stress. I'll be irrigating this hopefully here pretty soon because it definitely needs it. So here we are at the cover crops in the field a little bit. I didn't go in too much here, but just kind of at the edge. However, you can see here's the cover crops here. So kind of a little zoomed out picture. Got your corn and then the cover crops in the middle. But man, they look really good. Lots of different varieties coming up. Pretty much everything I planted in this test plot did come up. And this is my clover. This is what's going to provide nitrogen for next year. And it looks great. So I'm really excited to see what's going on. It's kind of interesting because actually the legumes did better this year than last year. And the cereal rye didn't do as good this year. So walking to the field a little bit more here. Get whacked by leaves. This time of year it's going to, since it's drying out, there's more sunlight getting into the field, which will help the cover crops grow if I can get moisture. So you can see these bottom leaves, they're dry. It's really dry. Cover crops are hurting a little bit. So here's a little bit different part of the field. You know, I'm not seeing as much, as I said, cereal rye as I did last year. In this plot, I didn't plant very heavy cereal rye, but let's see, there we are. So you can kind of see the vines there. Here's one as well. This is a legume, this long, tall one. And then this vine is hairy vetch. And once it starts getting some sunlight and hopefully a little bit of moisture, it should take off pretty good and hopefully start producing some nitrogen for next year. But overall, the corn still looks really good. I just want to show you a quick experiment real fast that was unintentional. That actually turned out to be pretty cool. So when I was planting this spring, I ran out of corn seed on one row, like probably about 50 foot early or so. And so it gave me a really good experiment for 60-inch corn and what it could do with cover crops. Didn't mean to do this, but it turned out actually pretty sweet. So that's the corn, the last row that it ended, ran out of seed. So what I mean by 60 inches, there's 60 inches between this row and this row. Typically you have 30-inch spacing, so lots of room in here. But you can actually see major difference here of the cover crop. It actually looks like a forest down there. Here is cowpeas. So they're doing really well. I mean, they're doing decent in other spots, but just having the sunlight makes a huge difference. Here's some flax here, some cereal rye. I mean, this stuff really, it's a warm season, it's really taken off where it gets the sunlight. I want to try some 60-inch corn next year. It's a totally different ball game. You actually double your population on your rows, so you're still planting the same population in theory, just twice as much every 60 inches. I don't know if it's going to affect the yield. You know, there's been some research that does a little bit, but not a lot. But if I can get a lot more growth of my cover crops and only lose like 3 or 4 bushel difference, totally worth it. But again, this isn't going to be a yield experiment. It's just visually I can tell it makes a big difference doing 60-inch versus 30-inch and having that sunlight. All right, so here's the ears of corn. They're looking actually really good. They're pretty close to finishing, starting to dent, so that's just going to show that it's almost mature. You'll notice pretty much every ear has a chunk missing. That's earworm damage. And the problem with earworms is they don't die until they eat the corn. So you're always going to have a little bit of loss on the ear because they have to take in the ear and then they die from a protein, I believe it is, in the corn that they can't metabolize, I believe. Every now and then you'll kind of see some funky ears like this. That's just pollination went weird, or growth, or it was stressed right here. So that's sometimes going to happen. Overall, nice tall corn. You can kind of see me comparative. I mean, these ears are about my neck, which is good that they're up high. Some hybrids are like that, some are lower, but you don't want them really low to the ground because it's hard to harvest. So good looking corn. I'm probably 8 foot reach. There's at least another foot, foot and a half. It's almost 10 foot tall corn. For a dry year, man, it looks great. I had to drop my corn acres a lot to have the irrigation to work out with it, but overall I'm happy. I'll be excited to get in the combine and get this cut, because you never know what Mother Nature can bring. We want to make sure we can get this out as soon as possible in case the hailstorm came, a windstorm, birds, you never know. It's never fun. But anyways, we'll probably be cutting corn maybe another month or so. It just has to dry out, basically finish maturing and then dry out, and then we can come in and combine. But overall, just wanted to show you guys cover crops, corn, a little overview. I'm excited to see what I'm seeing. Just gonna keep trying new things for next year. It's fun to do things like this. I'm excited. I hope you guys learned something from the cover crops. Please ask me if you have questions. It's awesome to see. I like it. I think more guys should try it out, because I haven't seen a drop in yield, and I've been able to have less nitrogen to this farm already. I'm noticing from strip till, and then I don't know about the cover crops that they're helping yet, but overall, I mean, I'm decreasing things and still seeing my yields stay the same. So it's just cool to see that I can grow cover crops and corn at the same time and kind of see some benefits from that. But if you have any questions, shoot me a DM. I'm always open to comments. Not DM, but you know, you can comment. Go to my Instagram, direct message me there. I always like to hear from you guys, so let me know. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. See you guys.